1-star reviews.
1917.
Is 1917 a masterpiece or a disaster? Add your review in the comments.
A vapid cartoon that shows once again that Hollywood is completely out of ideas and originality. Out of ideas. They decide to do the one-take style that The Revenant, Roma, and Birdman did, but oh, for some sort of originality. Let's just do it for war. And at that, let's pick World War I so people don't confuse it with Nam or Private Ryan. Sure. Camera work looks good, kudos, but the shoehorning, lack of a script, mediocre acting, der ex machina, no character development, and suspension of disbelief turn this into a sort of dumbed-down cartoon of a war picture. The only emotional scene was in the final 30 seconds. Everything else, basically, was implausible. The fact that some people are raving about and loving this movie shows that either the studio, Mendes and those involved have hired a bot army or shills to hype it up, or B, moviegoers are that desperate and dumbed down. But it's probably a combination of both. Leaning more towards her as the predominant reason, plot armor like Commando. A ridiculous scene about milk, and soldiers administering dangerous enemies with nursing like they were their family member makes the whole script unrealistic and implausible.
Total snoozer. Saving Private Ryan in World War I, but boring and tedious and unrealistic. OMG, someone died in a war, stop the presses. I felt like Elaine watching The English Patient with Peterman.
Boring and shallow. I don't feel like I know the characters at all. I have no idea why the two soldiers were friends or what they had been through together. The cinematography tried so hard to make this an emotional, shocking movie that it had the opposite effect. War scenes with gratuitous up-close views of corpses and body parts that don't add anything to the story got old quick. Good effects, crappy movie.
Terrible. Predictable and horrendous. The acting was terrible and the story was common and nonsense. The only exciting part about the movie was the very end when finally people were dying and it represented WW1. I highly doubt he met a strange woman with an abandoned child, and I highly doubt any of this even happened. This movie was Saving Private Ryan. But boring and predictable. Bleck. Boring. I really don't understand all the rave reviews on this film. It is tedious and boring. The dialogue is stilted. If you enjoy watching men walk through trenches, then this is the film for you.
Worst war movie ever seen. The story is a cliché and the performance is awful. I wonder how people thought of comparing it to the Saving Private Ryan.
Why you watch a movie? I'm wondering about some movies and some reviews because I don't know why some movies has given good rating numbers. Like the first review that I read about this one. It is talking about expensive shots and his late great uncle and question mark. What exactly can you say about this movies? I found that like a big number of people have forget about a movie as an entertainment subject. Like everyone is a filmmaking student and just pay attention to technical matters? It is a linear rotten story with an obvious ending from the beginning. Some famous actor to keep the flag up, but the movie is tearing apart and director try hard to keep it together.
Slow and boring. The title says it all. Don't waste your time on this one. I found myself bored since the first minute of the movie. I didn't care much about any of the characters. They were uninteresting and monotone throughout. The writing was terrible that I did not care of what was happening at all. The camera work was amazing, but that's about it. The one shot was clever, contributed to how slow this movie was. Overall, a forgettable Oscar bait movie.
Boring. It's like I watched the trailer of Battlefield 1 video game.
Tripe. Just back from watching this film. If this is line for Best Picture, I cannot see me being back at the cinema anytime soon. Absolute tripe from start to finish.
Really? I found this movie to be lacking in a storyline and 3 unrealistic scenes. The movie was very graphic, showing the realism and brutality of what war is. Except for 3 scenes that ruins the entire movie. The first, when the British soldiers were saving the German pilot after he was shot down. Never have I seen in real life nor in a war movie based on real events a soldier giving aid to the enemy with the enemy's head in his lap giving him comfort. Nor have I ever seen a soldier putting his hand over an enemy's mouth telling him to be quiet, then removing his hand after the enemy nodded he would. And then the unbelievable scene when he ran out of that building away from the enemy, leaving his weapon behind. Because of those 3 scenes, I found that movie to be disrespectful to those who served in the British military. I served with them in the 60s, and they do what they are trained to do, and they do it well.
Absolute bore. I get the feeling someone had the bright idea of, hey, let's shoot a movie and make it look like one continuous shot, okay? What kind of movie? What's the story? ... Who cares? Let's just shoot a movie that way, the whole continuous single shot. ... BFD. If anything, it was actually distracting. Would like to explain in greater detail, examples but spoilers, RPPL raving about the soundtrack. Cause even that was unremarkable, I was expecting epic. I feel I got slapped together, relying way too much on a bad idea and too much emphasis on the continuous single shot style.
Boring. This movie is just boring. If you watch Saving Private Ryan, oh man, that took you right into the Battle of World War II. Amazing. Then comes this movie. 2 guys walking on mud and talking all the time. Then they see some other soldiers and they talk some more. Then they walk some more. Then they ride for a bit. And then at the end they walk and talk again. No idea what I just watched. I don't understand why this gets such high reviews. It's just plain terrible. I wanted to like this so bad, but the characters just weren't likable. You tried to like them and the director really tried you to like them as well, even by throwing babies at you at some point, but it didn't help. This movie never gets under your skin. You're never scared or feel any tension. And I even saw it in IMAX. The hero never gets hurt. He's Terminator. The Germans are made to look stupid by the English director. They can't shoot. They can't fly. They're just drinking and puking and whatever. Not gonna waste more lines. This movie is just terrible. Save your money unless you like watching 2 hours of soldiers walking on mud and talking.
Boring, don't bother. This movie could have been done in 30 minutes. Terrible waste of money and a total snooze fest. Beware the fake reviews. Unfortunately, I only skimmed the surface when reading the reviews, which led me to losing the price of a cinema ticket and 2 hours of my life. It's amazing how many fake reviews there are for this film. Lesson learned. Sort by hated it next time.
Popcorn flick with some propaganda. Another ideologically contaminated film by cultural Marxism. Why too many Africans? And a Sikh? In Europe, there were virtually 0 Africans and Indians fighting in Europe. But hey, we got to meet the diversity and inclusion quotas, rewrite history, and promote multiculturalism. Lovely cinematography. The long takes were sometimes overdone. Great depiction of carnage and horror of war. Unbelievable story and scenes. Plane crashing into a barn in the middle of a field. Saving an enemy without hesitation. A cow and a bucket of fresh milk. How convenient. The baby needs milk. How convenient. Everyone seems to be bilingual. Guy is running in a straight line and no one is able to shoot him in the back. Leaving your weapon. Because during a war in enemy territory you don't need one. No one seems to mind a stranger coming from woods and joining a kumbaya moment. The scene where the 2 guys try to escape the tunnel is missing a giant ball rolling behind them and Indiana Jones music. Hero damage bonus plus. Cut with barbed wire. Survived explosion close proximity. Buried in rubble under huge rocks. Temporarily blinded. Survived a plane crash. Shot. Fell several stairs and hit the head. Slammed the body against rocks in a river. Survived freezing cold river water in springtime April 6, 1917. Survived more explosions.
Super Rich strike again. The best movie of 2019. No, the worst. Absolute rubbish. Compare it to the reality of war. The emotion and pointlessness of war. The self-sacrifice and cost. The sadness and the mixed happy ending with Saving Private Ryan. This was absolutely a pointless movie combined with one friend getting shot and the other doing a lame version. A ridiculous bullet dodging of John Wick combined with Lassie Comes Home. This was boring. Uneventful. Non-technical. Lame. Advertised as the best. A money maker which leaves you feeling conned out of $20 and 2 hours of my life.
Historically inaccurate and overly jingoistic. Following the trend to give movies 10 on 10 if one enjoyed it. This film gets a simple 1 on 10, for a proper war film. Watch Gallipoli. Easily more authentic than this expensive propaganda.
Visually stunning, but lacks action and a good script to make it a good movie. I honestly don't understand the high ratings of his film. I see people writing, "It's as good as Saving Private Ryan." Please do not compare this film to Saving Private Ryan. It doesn't even come close to it. I left the cinema underwhelmed and did not get the climax I wanted considering it's a war movie. I mean, why call it a war movie when there's not even any action? And the beautiful visual and single-shot film isn't good enough to call it a good film. Save your money and wait for it to come out on Netflix or another streaming service.